He was called quiet, well-behaved, even polite. But behind that calm face was one of the most prolific serial killers in Latin American history. Daniel Camargo Barbosa murdered at least 72 young girls and claimed he had taken the lives of over 180, mostly between the ages of 9 and 13. He escaped prison, crossed borders, and continued killing for years. His victims were poor, often forgotten, and his crimes barely made headlines outside South America. This is not just the story of a killer, it's the story of how society failed its most vulnerable. Daniel Camargo was born in 1930 in Colombia. His mother died early. His father remarried, a strict, abusive woman who would force Daniel to wear girls' clothing and ridicule him. This constant humiliation planted a deep resentment. Experts believe this fueled his later obsession with virginity and his hatred of women. Despite these issues, Camargo was highly intelligent. He passed aptitude tests and could have pursued education, but he dropped out, lived on the fringes, and began committing petty crimes. He didn't just want revenge, he wanted control. Camargo's first known crimes took place in Bogotá in the early 1970s. He partnered with a woman named Esperanza, who helped lure young girls by offering them clothes or work. Camargo would then rape and murder them, usually by strangulation. In 1974, police arrested him. He was sentenced to 25 years in a Colombian prison, but justice was short-lived. Camargo was sent to Isla del Rosario, a maximum security island prison off Colombia's coast. In 1984, he escaped. How? By putting on a guard's uniform, calmly walking to the dock and boarding a supply boat. From there, he vanished. Colombian authorities didn't raise major alarms. Camargo crossed into Ecuador, a country with no record of his crimes. And that's when the real nightmare began. In Ecuador, Camargo refined his method. He targeted poor girls, usually between 9 and 13 years old, often walking to school or selling candy. He lured them into forests with promises of gifts or work. Then he would rape, strangle, and leave their bodies uncovered, sometimes covering them only with branches. He didn't want to hide the crime. He wanted people to know what he was doing. Camargo told police later, "I left them uncovered so the authorities would know a maniac was on the loose." In just under 2 years, over 70 girls were murdered in this manner across multiple provinces. Some weeks, he killed 2 or 3, but the police didn't connect the dots, because these were poor girls. Their disappearances often weren't even reported. In February 1986, a 9-year-old girl escaped from Camargo and alerted authorities. He was caught in Quito, carrying a bag with children's clothing, notes, and a list of murder sites. When questioned, he confessed immediately, without hesitation. He took investigators to the bodies. He remembered names, locations. He explained it all, calmly, coldly, like a shopping list. He admitted to 72 murders in Ecuador and claimed responsibility for over 100 more in Colombia. He showed no remorse. Daniel Camargo was sentenced to 16 years in prison, the maximum penalty under Ecuadorian law at the time. That's just over 2 months per confirmed murder. No extradition to Colombia, no death penalty. The families of his Colombian victims never saw him punished for their losses. In 1994, while still in prison, Camargo was stabbed to death by another inmate, reportedly the relative of one of his victims. He died in a corridor, alone. Some called it justice. Daniel Camargo Barbosa wasn't insane. He wasn't out of control. He was methodical, patient, and selective. He preyed on girls who were vulnerable, unprotected, and invisible to the world around them. And what allowed him to kill for so long wasn't just his intelligence or ability to lie. It was society's silence, its failure to protect the poor, its indifference to the missing. We remember the name Daniel Camargo not to glorify him, but to remind ourselves that behind every statistic was a girl with a name, a face, a family, and we owe it to them to never let monsters like this go unnoticed again. If this story moved you, share it. Not for shock value, but for awareness, for the victims, for those still unheard. Subscribe to Human Crimes for more real stories that go beyond headlines, into the psychology, the systems, and the silence that let these horrors happen.